I don't think teaching, just the title teaching or teacher does it justice because you're juggling and responsible for so many more things than just delivering a lesson, you know.
Cornelius. He's a teacher and the owner of Class. I am well, thank you so much. All right, we're going to jump into it. When did you first know you wanted to pursue a teaching career?
Hello, glad to be here with you today, Miss Lamisa. How you doing? um, it was probably right at graduation from college when I realized that I hadn't fully planned out my comm arts, film production, or music uh, degree too well. I had learned about the alternative certification program, um, and I knew that was an option. So I started teaching in Dallas through that program. Um, so again, I really didn't know, but it was kind of in the cards. So as my options really came, to the table, that's what I decided. And um, yeah. Ooh, so I started teaching in 2009, and now here we are in 2025, 2026 school year. Um, so decade and a half ago, the kids, they were pretty much the same. I started with middle school and continued on, started teaching high school for the last 10, 12 years. But middle school kids, they and I've had the opportunity to teach middle school kids since teaching high school as well, through summer programming and after school programs. Um, you would think there would be a difference. There's no difference. Kids are kids. They're silly. They're distractible. They believe things. So um, they were actually on their smartphones when I started teaching. So that's always been an issue. Um, but for the most part, they've had a phone in their hand while learning, and that's just been kind of like the standard, right? It's like, how do we overcome um, that attention distractor and keep them on topic, keep them learning some um, the lesson or the opportunities to learn at hand. They're pretty much the same. Kids are kids. If you're 12, you're a knucklehead. You're 14, you think you know everything. They're goofy, they're silly. They're the same. I was the same way 20 years before, teaching them. So I think that aside from the distraction of the phone, pretty much students are the same.
You deserve a break, and we have the answer. It's the Feed Your Soul Wellness Retreat in Hot Springs, Arkansas, April 29th through May 3rd, 2026. We've designed this retreat for you to unplug, detox, reconnect, and restore the mind, body, and soul. With a guided excursions and designated free time, you will head back home rested, connected, and redirected, giving you the energy you need to make the best of 2026. Click the link below. We can't wait to retreat with you. So what can you tell me about your new job and the transition into it?
All right, so I've been a special ed math focused teacher since I was teaching middle school and also since I've been teaching high school. Um, I co-taught algebra as a special ed teacher component, but we really didn't explicitly tell that to the students. We were just two teachers in the classroom. We helped all the students, no discretion. We just kind of knew who needed more support, what kind of supports they needed, how to support them. But you learn that as you teach any body of students or humans or people. But got inspired to change from algebra special ed to go into horticulture by these two gentlemen that were teachers in the same hallway as me. There were a few classrooms down. they were telling me how they pretty much started their entrepreneur path and how teaching is kind of rolled into it. They were telling me that they didn't go the traditional way to become a teacher by the certified by the state, but they had a program that they offered through their company that they offered to the charter school I was working at, and they brought them on to teach that term, to teach the class. I got inspired, by their story, so I looked at their pathways, I studied them for a bit. They were very generous and gracious, patient with me, but they, shared a lot of their information, and I found kind of like something I was interested in, something I could transition to. Also have a master's degree in nutrition that, I've gotten since teaching. However, I'm thinking, this fits some of my mantras, some of the things I'm interested in. Let me start teaching horticulture, right? And let's start changing students' attitudes around food, around health, and, directly empower them with the ability to grow their own food, and improve their own health, So to, summarize that answer, the two gentlemen inspired me, gave me a pathway to kind of exit algebra, and start teaching actually a class that I feel, I really like math. I love math. I like teaching it, but this was speaking to me differently, and I feel really inspired and driven, teaching this course and teaching this program. So, time out.
What's the name of the class again?
Classroom Crops. Woo! Had to switch up the endorsement for the occasion. So yes, that's all. It's self-explanatory. It's designed to be in educational settings, so elementary, middle school, high school, and in the classroom we're actively growing food. And I studied my latest degree from YouTube University. Looked at a lot of DIY videos about gardening, people doing it below cost, and just kind of, brought together a whole bunch of different methods and infused that into lessons and our activities while we're learning about the plant cycle, plant parts, what is a plant, what's not a plant, and also actively working to align it with, the state standards for the different grade levels, so middle school standards, high school standards. So it's all my years of teaching kind of coming together for this perfect storm of hey, we can really reinforce a lot of educational standards while we're teaching brand new takes on how to fuel your own health and nutrition. So by growing your own food.
How did your students react to you leaving in the middle of the school year?
They hated it. They were even the tough ones who were mean to me all the time. They didn't even want me to go, right? So they, and I had to explain to them, I've been working towards this for several years now. I prefer to do it in the place I was, but it didn't align with what the school needed. And whenever opportunity in life presents itself and it's something that you feel strongly about, you need to weigh it out, pray on it, and step out in faith and take your best step forward. So this is in alignment with what I'm trying to accomplish. So I had to take it, and I think speaking to them, kids are really smart, they're intelligent, they're mature, they can handle real tough situations. Given the right support, right environment. So after explaining to them and talking to them, I had that conversation a lot. I think they were okay. I still have plans to stay involved with the school throughout the summer by offering the summer program. So I was giving them, different ways of, you're still going to see me around. I plan on still being always, down for this high school. They got me going. So I have a certain space in my heart for that school that they always will have, opportunity with me. So when things realigned, I was able to teach the actual class as a course for credit. And part of my planning was to continue doing that full time and getting out of algebra. It didn't fit for what the school needed there. But I did find another location, and I'm now the horticulture teacher there, hydroponics. And then so far, so good. We're off to a good start. So I'm really
So
excited.
you talked about summer school.
Mhm.
So is that your old school going to allow you to teach crop room crops there?
Well, when I say summer school, it's like summer programming. And in our building, where I previously worked, there's an elementary, middle school, high school. And they have after school programming. So outside organizations come in, they offer us programming. So I've worked actually with the outside organization to do after school with the elementary, middle school, and then I did a high school after school club. That's what got the after school high school portion. But I actually got Classroom Crops started as a summer program with the organization that comes in that's outside of the school, the outside school organization. So knowing that they have a summer program, they have they need programming. They've had me in the past, so it's all about just making sure you line up all the things you need to get in your agreements. Make sure you're permitted to run your program there. Just all that red tape stuff, but so it won't be directly through the high school where I previously worked. It'll be through an outside organization that uses the space for summer program. Yes. So yeah, but I mean, the kids are often around 4 summer school classes, or they're doing SYEP, Summer Youth Employment Program, and they'll work in the building. So kids are still around like all year. It's crazy. It's like, take a summer off, go do some stuff. They're like, nah, we're here.
Yes. Wh- What is hydroponics?
Hydroponics is the method of growing plants using a water medium. You also, there's a component of adding nutrients. So it's like, can't name them on the spot, but you have potassium, you have salts, you have other elements and minerals you want to add to the water for the plant health. And there are different methods that use hydroponics. So there's a nutrient filament technique, and that kind of uses like gutters. You place your plants, on top of the gutters, just covered. They have little holes. You have a hydroponic tower which shoots water up from a water basin in the bottom. It goes up to the top and it trickles down along the sides. So you have plants along the sides. So it's all water design. There's no soil. And Classroom Crops replicates through a DIY, method, some of these models, right? So they do have a hydroponic component to it, and there's also the soil base, and part of what Classroom Crops is seeking to accomplish is what I feel a lot of what the hydroponic technologies and companies it may be an oversight for them, which is the transferring of the information and the techniques to be replicated, at a residential or just to do it again. And there's a certain entry, you have to buy the equipment. Sometimes discourages people all. You have to have the space for it. Classroom Crops adds in the element of soil, as well. It gives you affordable starts. We start our seeds using repurposed takeout containers, right? So, the little black containers with the clear lids you have. Actually, there's a guy online named Mike. I don't want to miss his last name, but it's growing. He has a YouTube channel, and I use his method, right? So we use water bottles to transplant our seedlings into seedling cells so they can continue to grow and mature. So we're using regular everyday items, really like to start growing food through classroom crops methods, it's could be done within $20, right? So hydroponics is crucial. It's super cool. It's something we use, but I did want to highlight how, for the layman entry point, I think that soil is a better entry. It transfers easier. It's a less overhead for the equipment, and like it can at least start you off growing your food, right? Growing hydroponics, growing with soil, it doesn't matter. The outcome is the fruit, right? The produce, the leaves, the roots, right? Whatever we're going to harvest. So as long as we're growing, I don't, discriminate against your methods. And in fact, Classroom Crops offers multiple methods in which you could grow. So.
Okay. What are some ways to maintain structure in the classroom while being flexible to the current stressors students are under?
I try to keep in mind that just how I felt around that age. I was a knucklehead. I always had something smart to say back to the teacher. I stayed in trouble. My mom loves telling these stories, how, I was a knucklehead. So I keep all that in mind whenever I get hit, with some of that attitude or disrespect. And then also keep in mind how I would like to be spoken to just as a human being, right? And even when it comes to, being corrected, I feel like there's, a humane way to come at this. So you got to tank a lot of disrespect. You got to tank a lot of, blows upside your ego and your self-esteem. They come for you. They're not, they're not kind about it. But if you continue to model, patience, and I'm no angel either, right? You come for me, I'm gonna come right back at you. And then I want us to have like a healing. I gauge you better than you gauge me, so I know how to sting you, but not how to bruise you. I need you to pay attention, but be aware, like, hey, you didn't like it when I had that to say back to you. Let's be kind with our words, even to me. I'm a human as well. So it's a lot of that. And, it's just remembering that, hey, this may be their first time getting some of this structure or getting some redirection about, hey, that's not kind, or that's not the right way you speak to people, or that's not the right, behavior of what we need to be doing right now, right? So I may have got off track from your question, but
no. You were right on track. You were right on track.
But yeah, I think it's a large dose of patience, kindness. One of my dear teachers, co-workers, reminds me and reminds students every year, like we taught ninth grade, they're 14, and he said, I get you 13, 14. So I got you at your worst point in your life. It's like you're a jerk, you think you know everything, you're mean to us. Like it's like once I see you in 10th grade or 11th grade, like y'all are completely different. Like you're calmer, you're kinder, like you're wiser. We don't always get to experience that growth, so we have to keep in mind, like, how were you at 14? Like, what kind of butthead were you at 13, and what kind of stuff were you on? So, or your friends, if you weren't that, you at least saw it was around you.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you handle emotional weight of supporting students through difficult times while maintaining your own mental health?
Boy, I kind of felt like one of those questions was coming up. So I was actually thinking about this morning. So this year, with this group of ninth graders that I left, it was, I've been teaching solo, and it was my first kind of like 2 days. I had to take like 2 days off back to back. So it was their first time kind of, going without me. And I expected the worst. All my rules get violated and everything go crazy. So sure enough, came back, and they had went through my desk. And like that's something I have not experienced, in all my years of teaching. I know kids, they'll go through your desk, they'll go through your purse, but I just been lucky up to that point. So this was my year, right? So they went through my things. It was all screwed out everywhere. They stole my charger, and I just had to hold my tongue the whole day. It was very matter of fact. This is what we're doing today, because I knew I needed to speak to them but I didn't have like that personal control yet. My the professional control wasn't in control. It was, the personal outrage was at full effect. So they all saw things were off, something's wrong, and I told them, hey man, y'all violated me. This is why I'm really trying to pull back because I don't know who did it, and I don't want to hate you any more than I hate you right now, right? And they're like, oh my God, he's tripping. So it took me a day. I came back the next day and I had to speak to every class, and I was like, listen guys, I need y'all to start valuing your teachers and valuing boundaries, right? What happened? I told them like it was someone who did it in their class, and I was like, someone went through my things, they went through my space. I was angry yesterday. I was ready to bite everyone's head off, and that's why I didn't really open up a lot of opportunity, for banter or anything beyond the lesson. But this is something I need to speak to y'all about, right? So I try to model, through that whole experience, like, hey, I was outraged, and it wasn't the time for me to address that, right? So sometimes you may need space, and but it's something that you need to stand up for yourself in life, right? So if something is done and you've been wronged, and you need to speak up, right? And I need to let y'all know how this impacted me, how this is impacting you, right? And I need to relay and reassert my expectations, right? So this is how it is moving forward. This is what I expect from you. I wouldn't do this to you. Respect me, take care of me, treat us like a community. So I tried to even model through, let it be a teachable moment through my chaos in my in my harm. But that was an example of what I try to do. I try to model how to handle things. I try to let them know, hey, whenever you're speaking with vulgarity in my class, don't speak that way, right? I'm not trying to control the way you are or who you are, but you need to have a professional, and if you want to go speak outside the way you speak, whatever. But these are the rules within here, and what I'm modeling for you is how to conduct yourself in a professional manner, right? And you lay it out to them, and they're able to understand that, you get better results, right? And they're more accountable. They'll pop off and say, oh, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Because I'm tired of correcting you. Now you're catching it. Now you're seeing in real time, and I get it. You have to learn this. It's a learning moment. So I try to just extend that grace and model, a lot of patience. I know you're going to break the rules. I know it's not going to be perfect, but I got to give you that because it was given to me. And that's what got me here, because, like I said, if I had to teach me.
I heard the stories, all of them.
Yes, if I had to teach me. Let me tell them, y'all ain't nothing. I was a knucklehead. I was smart misbehaving. Y'all just dumb misbehaving. I mean, and then, they also, they know I'm flawed, and they know who they have, right? And they accept it, and they know what they're getting every day, right? So by the end of the year, they know me like family, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. What if wellness wasn't just about your body, but about your whole life feeling good? The 2026 Wellness Powered by You Digital Planner is designed to empower every part of you with weekly insight questions that guide your inner growth and reflection space to help you honor your journey. True wellness means a calm environment too. In your new 2026 planner, you'll find quarterly prompts for closet clean out, home deep cleans, and car maintenance checklists to keep your space as clear as your mind. This is Wellness Powered by You. Be organized, be intentional, and leave 2026 a different person than you entered. Get your 2026 planner now at the link below. Do you experience language barriers with your students?
My broken Spanish, give me some grace. And the kids do, they'll see me try, and they'll help fix things in real time for me. But it's a lot, and we just differentiate. So, and chat's all this AI has been super helpful in teaching technology and teaching tools. So you could translate way better now than Google Translate. So with a little preparation, 2 minutes extra, boom, 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 print out the Spanish version. I'll use Google to hey, come here, and I'll make sure it's not projecting, and I'll tell them if I need to say something very explicit, I'll have them read it, and they'll reply, they'll switch it back, they'll type back to me, so it's a challenge, but I think the communication is still pretty clear, it's achievable, and given like my butchering of the language, but my effort, they'll take it, and just like supplementing, where you can, it bridges the language gap. Yeah, it makes it feasible, doable for them, and they get that through all the classes, pretty much. I think it's real cool. Yeah.
So, do you have an outside garden or a garden box? I know you talked about the little carts you use, but do you use anything else?
Yes. So I do have a second business that we started called Box Farms, and Box Farms is different than Classroom Crops. Classroom Crops is focused on education and growing in the class setting. Box Farms is more designed to take place outside, and it's basically manufacturing and growing using elevated raised garden bed. So we do have some that are on the streets in New York right now actively. We have some that are in community gardens in New York. We have some that are in some backyards in Texas. But not every space has a garden that we can grow in, and part of my solution to that is, how can we make gardening still accessible even if there isn't a rooftop garden or a sanctioned space, and you can grow food in a 1 by 2 foot space, right? Replicated, you get a lot of the square footage, cubic foot. So that's kind of been my solution to not having an outside garden. I do utilize the plants we have growing outside on the sidewalk, the ones we have in other community gardens in the city. We have built many different models of growing beds that we do have on the roof at the high school that aren't the exact Box Farms model. But aside from rooftop, sidewalk, and sanctioned community garden space, I don't have a garden. I don't have my own dedicated space that I can grow in. However, hopefully throughout this year, that will change. So,
Okay, for those who don't know what a garden box is, and if you use them, who builds them?
So we've had the students building these elevated garden beds. So all you're doing is I also got this from YouTube University, so I can't say but I have done some innovations to it that have made it stand out, and I'm still in the process of protecting that legally. But they've already been in deployment, they're out there. What it is you have basically a wood frame, corrugated metal, that sits within the frame, and we use those as panels. So you can build I have like a little microscopic, a little small model that kind of illustrates the idea. So this would be the corrugated metal on the inside. You frame it with wood, and then you just join the sides. We added the stilt component, so it sits on legs, so it's off the ground, right? And we did it that way to have for multiple reasons. One, it has a permeable bottom, and that's designed so that you can't overwater it. So when you're watering, you can see the actual water falling down. So that's one clue to you, okay, it's reaching all points of the soil. It's also off the ground so that it doesn't kill your grass. I know in Texas and many other places around the states, we care about our yards, our gardens, And sometimes it's not worth the sacrifice for healthy food to kill more grass, right? So I get that. So this keeps your grass alive, right? Like, I mean, you just have the little post in there. There's no interruption. And another added advantage is it's off the ground, so, dogs don't have to pee on it, right? So that's how they're surviving right now in New York, on the sidewalk, surrounding trees. They're not, really being violated by the public. They're not being violated by animals, and it's pretty easy to care for. Just people are actually watering them. So there's been some community outreach, and then other people just kind of taking on ownership and care, which has been really cool to see. But that's the design. It's basically a garden bed that is elevated off the ground. And, like I said, we're targeting public spaces, right out there on the sidewalk, community gardens, to residential. Put them in your backyard, in your front yard, start growing your own food. So.
What is your ultimate goal as a teacher?
Oh, man. To continue just really modeling how to continue learning, right? I don't really feel like I'm a one-subject teacher, and I feel like there's a lot of application that comes out of the process of learning, right? And learning is different for everybody, right? So, but I think a key component of learning is just management and consistency, right? So, I mean, the only way we learned to do anything was through error, continuing that, and being consistent, until we got it, right? I mean, and I always give, coming from algebra, when I started doing the gardening, the kids were like, "How you doing gardening? You're a math teacher, me. Right? I tell them, it's the same way you learn to walk, right? When you first started walking, you was falling, busting your knees, falling on your face, and now you just walk, you don't even think about it, right? So we do that in many aspects in life, and we're just continuously learning. So as a teacher, my biggest lesson would be to learn how you learn and continue learning. Right?
So what was your favorite subject in school?
Math.
Math. Yeah. Okay, because it really sounds like science because of the gardening, but okay.
Nah, I didn't like science. I didn't like history. I think I was closer to science, but I really didn't like much but math. I was like, yeah. English was too subjective. We could write the same sentence 20 different ways. I don't know. Is this right? Math is 3 plus 4. There's going to be one good answer for this. There's a lot of answers.
But it's only that one, huh?
There's one good one, though. There's one good one.
What would you want people outside of education to understand about teachers?
Woo! Probably the name teacher is, I don't know, not the right word for what they're doing. These people are doing, man, and I'm thinking about the teachers who I'm around, right? The teachers I've been blessed to be able to know and learn from and see them. I see teachers just deal with a lot, just from preparing and learning about what they're going to learn, how to deliver that, knowing what are the challenges of me giving this one lesson and what will I face, right? Then you have the pressures of, hey, you have metrics coming down from your admin. We're coming to observe you. You're not doing this, you're not doing this, here's some training, right? And then you're dealing with the student. You want them to learn what you want them to learn, but you also know, hey, I'm dealing with a soul and a human with emotions and challenges, right? So we always talk about ideal conditions to learn under, and the majority of our students aren't learning under these ideal conditions, right? So there's a lot of mentoring and counseling, advice, and I had heard, I think there was an article that was brought up to us in training years ago, during summer training. It was saying how this man he was a rocket scientist and he became a teacher. And he was like, this is the most difficult job. Like, he was testifying like, I'd rather go back to being a rocket scientist. Like, teaching is crazy. It's difficult. And then I also heard something like teachers make 10,000 decisions in a day, like every day. And if you really like stop and just try to count, like, you're going to make 100 choices in 10 minutes. Right? What am I going to say? How do I correct this? How do we get back on track? Did I prepare this? What is this under? Like, there's like, you're really live. I try to tell people, it's like when you watch a news anchor, you don't really get to see them on an off day. That was a 50% of what I saw yesterday. Like, you have to be on everything. It's a high demand job. And I don't think teaching, just the title teaching or teacher, does it justice, because you're juggling and responsible for so many more things than just delivering a lesson, you know. But yeah, I think people remember teachers are, you know, they're dealing with a lot. Sometimes y'all's children is pretty challenging to them. And, you know, don't forget to give your teachers some grace, right? Yes. Whether you think they're a good teacher or a bad teacher. Just remember, they're trying, they're coming every day, they got to be on. They have their own flaws, but give them a little grace, you know.
So I was a LOTC instructor and a JRTC instructor. And so I know we, like, you know, control the kids. And so teachers will come to me and be like, hey, can you just come stand in my door and look at your kids? And I just go stand in the door and cross my arms, and the kids see me and they have no more problems with them. But I would be like, yeah, why don't you just do what I did? They were like, I don't know what you do, but what I do is not the same. And they would not listen to me. And it was just so ironic that I would have to always do that.
Yes.
But I think that's that 30 years of military. So.
Oh man, and they know who they can play with, who don't play. And that's part of, like, you can't teach that to teachers, right? Like, there's certain times, you know, I've gotten called in the room to straighten up some stuff, right? And because they're taking advantage of a sweet teacher, right? Or a teacher who responds in a way that makes kids more, you know, rebellious towards them or their direction, right? So like I said, everyone is challenged. Like, no one's perfect, right? And sometimes you got that teacher, don't give me some me saying, they're straighten up. Just a mention of, you know, woo, you see them straighten up, just like they boom, it's in their mind, right? And then certain teachers, they know. So I think that's a certain quality, but also keep in mind, like, there's certain times that teachers are able to do what we're not able to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have them on the respecting that behavior tip, right? But this one, they always want to open up, and they'll tell them about, like, tragic things that are going on in their life, right? And they'll start with, you know, confiding in this teacher, but they wouldn't do that to me because I have a certain, like, you know, like, just who I am, and they know that, right? They know where they can get support from and where they can't. And even if they do want to confide in you and share things, that's also up to you as a teacher, so that your response then also clues them into, I can't talk to them about that, or that they weren't very supportive, right? So they're pretty smart in how they utilize, you know, where they use their leverage, right? So if you know you come in and straighten them up, like, that's cool. Other teachers can come in there and, you know, get right to their essence, right? They'll open right up to them like a therapist. So I don't know. I don't know what my skills are. I just like to keep it lighthearted. I like to let them know, like, hey, life is tough. You can survive it. You know, learn to laugh at it. You know, this sucks. Math sucks. Okay. Next year, you're going to have a new subject that sucks. You're going to be fine. Like, learn to enjoy it, whatever. You know, like, so my energy and the package I deliver is different. It's not as nurturing. It's not as, you know. Right. But there are times, and hey, I'm not playing that. We'll take it as far as we need to, and they respect that. They see their limits, they'll push it. It's like parents. Yeah, which parent they get away with that with. So, hold on
Okay.
real quick.
Okay. How do you manage a project here in San Antonio and live in New York?
Oh man, this is not the way I would like to manage it. So this is all God's grace at this point. I'm dealing with two lovely women who are helping me engage and do pretty much a pilot program. This is my first year actually delivering Classroom Crops as a program in San Antonio or in Texas. It started in New York City, and I've been able to learn and systemize, whichever one that correct word was, enough of the program so that the education component, the methods, the pacing can actually be taught and turned over, right, to somebody else. And this was actually a test of my, diligence and fortitude to see, like, hey, how prepared are you? Can you give this to someone and can they run it, right? So it is definitely a challenge. It's not the way I would like to, in a perfect world, do it, but there's no perfect world. There's no perfect way, right? Like, you take on what's given to you, and then, like, you learn from it, and you appreciate that opportunity, and then you fix what you can, you learn from what you can. So it's been a challenge. It's been, I've had to grow as a business owner, learning, like, how to teach the program. But I would say overall, it's proven that enough things were in place for it to demonstrate success. I would like to grow on this success and get to the point that I do it the way I want to. But I'm grateful and encouraged, to continue. Currently here, we do have about 2 parents that are helping facilitate Classroom Crops. Box Farms this is the year of Box Farms. It's been going on in the background, so it's kind of going public this year, so to speak. So I have certain initiatives that I do want to accomplish, other community groups I do want to get involved with. That I'm gonna have to do in 2 places as well. But just scaling back to your question, though, how's it going for running it in 2 different places? It's going good. Again, it's not as good as I want it, but I'm smart enough to be grateful and committed enough, to see it continue to do better.
Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.